Hello students. Today I'll be talking about properties of DNA. Properties, or you can also say characteristics of DNA. Properties of DNA, and I'm going to discussing about two properties of DNA here. First one is replication or duplication. This term may be new for you. Replication or duplication. See, what does the term replication or duplication mean? See, DNA molecule in our body, in our cell, DNA molecule can produce its own copy or replica. Do you know the meaning of copy? Scientific term is replica. Means from one parent DNA, two exact new DNA molecules can be formed. Do you get it? So two new DNA molecules can be produced from the one parent DNA, and these newly formed exact DNA molecules are exact copies of the parent. Okay. Now the process by which DNA molecule can produce its own replica, or you can say own copy, this process is called replication. So this is one of the most important properties of DNA. Not only DNA, actually it is the properties of genetic material. Genetic material, if you remember what is genetic material, the substance which encloses the information for expression of character and which also carries hereditary characters from parents to their offspring, isn't it? So this replication is the properties of genetic material, but here we are discussing about the properties of DNA. So DNA can produce its own copy by the process of replication. So remember this, replication or duplication is one of the most important properties of DNA. Okay, then second one, denaturation. Denaturation and renaturation. Denaturation and renaturation. See, in my last video when we studied the structure of DNA, then we came to know that each DNA molecule is composed of two polynucleotide strands, and these two strands are helically intertwined with each other to form this double helical structure of DNA. Okay. Now, why DNA is double helical? Because of the presence of hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds between the complementary purine and pyrimidine bases. You know this, right? So when the solution of DNA is treated with temperature, high temperature, when solution of DNA solution means is treated with high temperature, then these hydrogen bonds become weak. At high temperature, these hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases become weak, and at very high temperature means above 90 degrees centigrade, at very high temperature, these hydrogen bonds disappear. Now, you know that these two polynucleotide strands are helically intertwined only because of the presence of hydrogen bonds. These two strands are connected by hydrogen bonds. But at very high temperature, if hydrogen bonds are disappeared, then these two strands, they are not then helically intertwined. Instead, they separate from each other, isn't it? If hydrogen bonds are disappeared, the two strands of DNA separate from each other. Now they are not in double helical form. So this separation of two strands of DNA means now the double stranded DNA is converted into two single polynucleotide strands, isn't it? So this phenomenon is called denaturation. DE means absence of natural structure. Denaturation, I repeat, when solution of DNA is treated with high temperature, then the hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases become weak, and at very high temperature these hydrogen bonds disappear. As a result, the two strands of DNA separate from each other, resulting into the formation of two single polynucleotide strands, and this is called denaturation. Okay. Now, when this solution containing single stranded DNA, means two separated DNA strands, are allowed to cool slowly. If this solution of DNA is allowed to cool slowly, then you know nitrogenous bases have great tendency to form hydrogen bonds with their complementary bases, and as temperature cools down, then again hydrogen bonds form between the complementary bases, and DNA molecule regains its original double helical structure. Okay, when the solution of DNA containing separated DNA strands are allowed to cool slowly, then hydrogen bonds are again formed between the complementary bases. If hydrogen bonds reappear, then again the two strands of DNA helically intervene and it regains its original double helical structure. Okay, so regaining of original structure, double helical structure, that's why this phenomenon is called renaturation. Regaining of original natural structure, renaturation. Okay, so this is also one of the important property of DNA, that denaturation and renaturation means the two strands of DNA can be separated by heat treatment, by breaking the hydrogen bonds or disappearing the hydrogen bonds, and these two separated strands can be connected again by the formation of hydrogen bonds by lowering the temperature. Okay, so this is called denaturation and renaturation. Okay, so these are the two properties of DNA. Now come to types of RNA. What is RNA? Ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid, one type of nucleic acid. Okay, so RNA can be classified into two types. First one, genetic RNA. Genetic RNA, and second one, non-genetic RNA. Genetic RNA and non-genetic RNA. Okay, let's see what is genetic RNA first. Okay, see, we found that in some viruses, for example, HIV virus, TMB virus, then influenza virus, in those viruses, RNA is the genetic material. Means in those viruses, their characters are expressed by RNAs, and their hereditary characters are transmitted from one generation of viruses to their progeny through RNAs. Okay, so their genetic material is RNA. So such RNAs in those viruses where RNA acts as genetic material, where RNA is responsible for expression of character, where RNA is responsible for transmission of character from generation after generation, in those viruses, their RNA is called genetic RNA. So where does the genetic RNA found? Genetic RNAs are found in some viruses, for example, HIV, TMB, influenza, etc. Okay. Then come to non-genetic RNA. Non-genetic RNA, you can guess what is non-genetic RNA from the name. So in higher organisms, in actually most organisms, including human being, the genetic material is DNA, right? We have DNA to perform our function of our genetic material. So in those organisms who possess DNA to perform the function of genetic material, RNA is not responsible for transmission of character. RNA is not responsible for expression of character in those organisms who possess DNA, right? So in those organisms, RNA is chiefly responsible for protein synthesis. RNA plays vital role in protein synthesis in those organisms in which DNA acts as genetic material. So such RNAs who do not act such RNAs that do not act as genetic material, that do not carry hereditary characters, such RNAs are called non-genetic RNAs. So the RNAs present in our cell are non-genetic. Okay. So non-genetic RNAs are again three types: messenger RNA or mRNA. In short, it is called mRNA. Full name messenger RNA. Then transfer RNA or tRNA, and last one ribosomal RNA or rRNA. Okay, so these are the three types of non-genetic RNAs present in most of the organisms. So let's see what are these and what are their functions. Messenger RNA. Before moving on to the functions of these three types of non-genetic RNA, we have to know little about protein synthesis actually. As these RNAs, non-genetic RNA, I have earlier mentioned that these non-genetic RNAs play a vital role in the process of protein formation in our cell. So what is protein synthesis? Protein, you know, it is one of the very important organic biomolecule, organic compound present in our cell, which is made up of amino acids. Okay, so these proteins are synthesized inside our cell in one of our cell organelles. It is called ribosome. Remember, ribosome is the site of protein formation. Means, suppose this is a cell, this is nucleus, and ribosomes are located here in the cytoplasm, and these are the sites of protein formation. These are ribosomes. I think you know this. Okay. So in the ribosome, amino acids are linked by peptide bond to form the polymer protein. So protein is a polymer. It is a complex molecule and it is composed of structural subunits. Its monomer, it is amino acid. Okay. So we have 20 types of amino acids in our cell. Remember these things. Our cells possess 20 types of amino acids, and these 20 types of amino acids form different types of proteins in our body. Do you get my point? See, we have 1,000 types of proteins in our body, and these all proteins are formed of these 20 types amino acids. Means building blocks are the same 20 types amino acids in case of all kinds of proteins. But why proteins are different? Because of the difference of arrangement of amino acids, and it is called sequence. Arrangement of amino acids is known as sequence of amino acids. So the arrangement of amino acids the sequence of amino acid is different in different proteins. Do you get it? Proteins are different because of the difference in the sequence of 20 types amino acids in different protein. Otherwise all proteins are made up of same 20 types amino acids. Okay, so these 20 types amino acids are present in our cell. Now see, when proteins are, suppose this is nucleus, proteins are synthesized in the ribosomes, then the arrangement of, suppose these are amino acids, the arrangement of amino acids means position of amino acids are determined by DNA. Okay, the sequence of amino acids means which amino acid will come at which position among the 20 types. This sequence of amino acid is determined by DNA. Okay, in DNA, in the form of nitrogenous base sequences, it is easy like that. In suppose this is DNA, in DNA in the form of nitrogenous base sequences, the information of sequence of amino acid is written. Okay, so the arrangement of amino acids, sequence of amino acids in a protein to be synthesized in the ribosome is determined by DNA. Okay, DNA encloses this information in what form? In the form of nitrogenous base sequences. Okay, now this information is called genetic information of protein synthesis. So genetic information of protein synthesis means the sequence of 20 types amino acid in a protein to be synthesized in the ribosome, and this genetic information of protein synthesis is stored in DNA. Do you get it? Now all of you know that basically DNA remains inside the nucleus, and today you found that protein synthesis takes place outside the nucleus, means in the cytoplasm, in the ribosome, isn't it? Means somebody has to carry the information of protein synthesis which is written in DNA from the nucleus to the ribosome, isn't it? I repeat the sentence. The genetic information of protein synthesis is written in DNA. Okay. But protein synthesis takes place outside the nucleus, means in the ribosome. That means somebody has to carry the information of protein synthesis from DNA, means from the nucleus to the ribosome. Who will carry? It is carried by mRNA, messenger RNA. What happens inside the nucleus during protein synthesis? Inside the nucleus, the two strands of DNA separate from each other by enzymatic action due to the breakage of hydrogen bonds. Okay. After separation, the nitrogenous base sequence of one DNA strand is copied to one mRNA strand. Means, suppose this DNA strand encloses the information of one protein, means the arrangement of amino acids in a protein to be synthesized in the ribosome. Suppose this information is located here in this strand. Then this information is first copied to one mRNA strand, messenger RNA, this one mRNA strand. And this process is called transcription. This process is called transcription. What is transcription? The process by which mRNA strand is formed from DNA, or you can also say the process in which the coded message of protein synthesis is copied to mRNA strand from one DNA strand. Okay, so now this mRNA strand, it gets the information from this DNA strand. What information? Information of protein synthesis, right? Now after getting this information, now the mRNA, it leaves the nucleus. It leaves the nucleus and migrates to the cytoplasm, where it fixes at the smaller subunit of ribosome. This is mRNA. What is the purpose of formation of this mRNA? It carries the arrangement of amino acid, the message of protein synthesis from DNA to the ribosome, because ribosome is the machine for the formation of protein, and the message of protein formation it is stored inside the nucleus in DNA, right? And remember, DNA never leaves the nucleus. DNA never leaves. So to transfer this information, first this information is copied to mRNA, and after getting this information, the mRNA carries these messages of protein synthesis to the ribosome. Okay. So now tell me, what is the function of messenger RNA? In one sentence, mRNA or messenger RNA, it carries genetic information of protein synthesis from DNA to ribosome, which is the site of protein formation. Am I clear to you? Okay. Then come to transfer RNA, tRNA. suppose this is a ribosome. Ribosome is actually composed of two subunits. One is smaller one, another is larger one. And the mRNA, after getting the message of protein synthesis from DNA, it migrates to the cytoplasm and fixes at the smaller subunit of ribosome. This one, what is this? This is mRNA. So mRNA carries the information of protein synthesis in the form of nitrogen base sequences. In the sequence of 3 bases, in this mRNA, sequence of 3 bases codes for 1 amino acid. We have how many types of amino acids? 20 types of amino acids, and each amino acid is coded by such one unit of 3 bases, and this unit of 3 bases is called codon. So one codon codes for one amino acid. Suppose A, suppose Z, whatever. This is suppose 5' end, this is 3' end. Okay. Now in the ribosome, these coded messages of mRNA, what are these? These are coded messages of protein synthesis. These messages enclose the arrangement of amino acids. Okay. Now these coded messages of mRNA are translated into amino acid sequence to form a polypeptide chain. What is polypeptide? Polypeptide. See, when I have mentioned earlier that proteins are made up of amino acids. Suppose these are amino acids. So amino acids are linked by peptide bond. The bond between the amino acid is called peptide. So amino acids are linked by peptide bond. When amino acids are linked by number of amino acids are linked by peptide bond, then the resultant long chain is called polypeptide chain, and such polypeptide chain will finally form protein molecule. Now, when the mRNA fixes at the smaller subunit of ribosome, then the coded message of mRNA, the nitrogenous base sequence of mRNA, is converted into amino acid sequence of polypeptide chain in the larger subunit of ribosome. Okay. Now, suppose this is the ribosome, then this is another site of cytoplasm. This is called amino acid pool. Amino acid pool means the 20 types amino acids, all the amino acids are present in this amino acid pool in the cytoplasm. Now, since proteins means amino acids has to be linked, amino acid has to be linked in the ribosome. It is the site for protein formation. But amino acids, they remain in the amino acid pool. Means someone has to transfer the specific amino acid from amino acid pool to the ribosome for formation of protein according to the need of this coded message of mRNA. So, what will be the function of tRNA? See, based on the coded message, based on the requirement, suppose this is AUG. This codon, it codes for one amino acid. Let me tell its name, methionine. You will get later what codon will code for what amino acids. I have given just one example. AUG codon, it codes for methionine amino acid. Similarly, UUU codon, it codes for phenylalanine. Phenylalanine. Okay. So these amino acid. So according to the need of the mRNA, based on the coded message of mRNA, specific amino acid is transferred from amino acid pool to the ribosome for polymerization of amino acid. This is called polymerization. When one structural units repeatedly joined by specific bond, then it is called polymerization. So for the polymerization of amino acids in the ribosome, specific amino acid is transferred by tRNA. That's why its name is transfer RNA. It transfers specific amino acid from amino acid pool to the ribosome based on the coded message of mRNA. Clear? Now third one, function of ribosomal RNA. in protein synthesis. Direct role means, see, look at mRNA. mRNA carries information of protein synthesis from DNA to the ribosome. Okay, means it plays one of the most vital roles in protein formation. Then transfer RNA, it transfers specific amino acid according to the message of mRNA from amino acid pool to the ribosome. Okay, like these two types of non-genetic RNAs, though rRNA has no direct role in protein formation, but it helps in the formation of ribosome. rRNA, it takes part in the formation of ribosome, which is the site of protein formation, isn't it? Ribosome is also very important for formation because it provides the site for formation of protein in the cell, and rRNA, it takes part in the formation of RNA. It is very important for formation of ribosome, sorry. It takes part in the formation of ribosome. Thus, it also helps in the process of protein synthesis. Okay. Thus, these three types of non-genetic RNAs are responsible for formation of protein in our cell. Okay. So, in one sentence, if I ask you what is the function of non-genetic RNA, they play vital role in protein formation. And what about genetic RNA? From the name, you can guess the function of genetic RNA, isn't it? Genetic means they act as genetic material, and such RNAs are found in some viruses. Okay. Now come to functions of DNA. Functions of DNA. I think you can guess the first function of DNA, that in most organisms DNA acts as genetic material, right? I think all of you know that. In most organisms DNA acts as genetic material. In most organisms DNA encloses the information of character expression, and also it carries hereditary characters from parents to their offsprings. Okay, you know this function. Then second one, come to second one. See, today you have found three types of non-genetic RNA: mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. Okay, now you all are familiar with these three terms. They are very important in protein formation. Without these three types of RNAs, proteins cannot be formed in our cell. And remember, all these three types of RNAs means mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. All these three types of RNAs are synthesized by DNA. Remember, all these RNAs, non-genetic RNAs, are synthesized by DNA. So this is one of the most important functions of DNA, that it can produce all the three types of non-genetic RNAs. All these three types of non-genetic RNAs are synthesized from DNA. Okay, so this is second function. Then, see, now you know the functions of mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. Means they are very, very essential for formation of proteins. Okay, they are very essential. Each of them play very vital. They play a vital role in the synthesis of protein in the ribosome. Okay, and it is also known to you that DNA synthesizes all these three types of non-genetic RNAs. So what can I say? That DNA controls the protein synthesis process, isn't it? If DNA doesn't synthesize these all three types of non-genetic RNA, then protein cannot be formed, isn't it? So DNA controls the process of protein synthesis. So this is the third function of DNA, and it controls the process of protein synthesis. And number 4, since DNA is our genetic material, it encloses all the information for expression of character, synthesis of protein. Okay, so the fourth function, we can say that directly or indirectly, all cellular processes, all processes that taking place in our cell are controlled, are regulated by DNA. So directly or indirectly, all cellular processes are regulated by DNA. So these are four functions of DNA. And with this, the nucleic acid part of your biomolecule chapter is completed. Okay. So in my next video, I will start one new topic from this biomolecule chapter again. Okay. So I'd like to stop here. Thank you.